Hambini fans, and welcome to episode 2 of Hambini builds a fast aero bike on the cheap. Now, if you tuned into episode 1, you will have seen me go and buy a bargain Look KG 486 from Belinda with the big bazookas in the charity shop in Bristol. Now, fast forward a little while and we've got the frame and we've got a few little problems. Those namely being the seat post is stuck and the forks are too short and a few little other problems. But without further ado, let's begin with the stuck seat post. This is the frame and this is the stuck seat post. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some solution into the seat post area. I've wrapped a rag around here because the stuff that I'm going to put in there is corrosive. So to get the best penetration, i.e. a bit more penetration than pigeon shit, what you need to do is you need to take out one of the drink bottle holder bolts, if it'll come out. Okay. So that's got a riv nut behind it. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some potion through there. Now the potion in question is this. Okay, so if I can zoom in, will it zoom in? Let me just try and zoom in. No. Description: Scalex is a very heavy duty phosphoric acid based descaler suitable for removing rust, pipework, metalwork, kitchen utensils, all that kind of shebang. And for Hambini's bike frame. Just look out for anything with that sort of symbol, that's perfect. So I filled this container with well, with that stuff. This is a really old container because it's made in West Germany, so I've had it for a long time, at least 1989 or whenever reunification was. But anyway, we digress. So we need to put that in there and then pump away. Don't really need that much. Okay. Then turn it over and leave it. And fast forward 24 hours and I was expecting this to be a bit of a bitch, but I just undid the bolt this morning before I went and tried this, and out it came. And there's the scaler that's done its job. It's really quite effective. Only thing we need to do now is we need to clean this off. Now, with the bastard seat post fixed, we turn our attention to some other little features of this bike. There's two key things that I had to fix. The first was the cut down too much fork steerer tube, and another one which I've just come across, which is the adjustable dropout. So the bike has adjustable dropout, so you can move these things forwards and backwards. I just need to make sure the alignment on them is okay. This is the tool. It is one Delrin piece that is the same radius as a bicycle tyre, and it has a distance between there and there of 130 millimeters, and these little things on the end to locate inside the axles. And I'm going to put this inside the bike frame. So this is one of the adjustable dropouts. It's the non-drive side. There's the same one on the other side, which you probably can't see because I've zoomed out. But there's some marks that are on the top of the frame for you to line it up. I wouldn't recommend you go by these because they're usually off. Now, my BMC Time Machine has the same issue. The marks can be off. So what we do is we get this and then put it into the gap so it locates. And then we can move the two items together. I'm just going to move the camera around so you get a better idea of what's going on. On here is I've deliberately misaligned the non-drive side dropout, and this gauge, what we want to do is we want to make sure it's equidistant at the end. So we move this until that happens, and then when it's at that point we can then tighten, so there's an equal gap between the two sides, we can tighten the Dropout Allen bolts. So that's just to make sure that it's all running true. Okay, so hopefully you can see it's lined up bang in the middle. I've been on eBay and bought myself a set of handlebars and a stem. I got both of these for the princely sum of 15 quid, 11 quid for the handlebars and the stem, and 4 quid for the postage. Now, whenever you buy these things, there's always a little catch. And the catch is, this is designed, well, this is what is basically an obsolete size. So it is, I think it's 28.6 millimeters, something like that. And it is from circa, I'd say the late 90s, early 2000s. So it doesn't have any of this internal routing or anything like that. It's basically a aluminium tube that has been bent around. But it has one key feature that I wanted, and that's the distance between here and here, which is 38 centimeters. So the key to going fast is to make the riding position as aerodynamic as possible by being as narrow as possible, and that's what we're going to do and fit it to the bike. Now, the aim of this bike was to make it as cheap as possible, so we have a few little problems and issues that we are now going to have to tackle. The first of these problems I kind of knew about already, which is the fork tube is cut too short, and the other one is that. Now, modern stems are all designed for a wider width than the 1 inch, which is there. So that is like 25.4. Everything else, which is 1 inch, everything else these days is 1 inch and 1/8. So we need to fix those two little problems, and that's what we're going to cover right now. Now, the first of these problems, which is the diameter, we can sort out with a shim. And all I've done is taken a piece of material, machined it down to 25.4 on the bore, and I think it's 28 point whatever on the outside. Put that over, and then that should sort out then now there's no play. So that one was a fairly easy fix. The problem that still remains, which is more harder to solve, is the lack of material inside, because the fork tube is cut too short. I've taken the tube out of the bike so I can show you what I'm going to do. If I zoom in a bit, the diameter of this is 1 inch, and it's very difficult to get a headset and steering top for that size, so I decided to make my own, and this is how I did it. So this is the Hambini headset that I've made, well, not Hambini, the Hambini top cap, reinforced top cap that I've made, and I'll put it together to show you how this works. So first of all, we have the bit that sits on top of the bike fork tube, so that goes onto there. Now, I've machined 3 sizes of those, oops, which are these 3, and they all have a slightly different height or stack. So they go into there, and then I can pick whichever size I want. So that's your first thing. So that's the top. So to assemble that, I got an M8 cap head screw, machined the top off it, and then put another hex in, and then put I can't remember, it was M5 thread through the middle of it, which is that, and that goes into there like so. Then I got some knurled material with a garter spring around it, so I literally just machined a round piece of bar stock down, and then put 3 slits in, and then put a garter spring around it, and that goes onto there. And then we have the bottom piece, which is just like a wedge, so that screws into there. Okay, as you screw it, this thing expands outwards and will grip the side of the carbon fibre. Now, the problem with the look frame was the inside diameter in here was much smaller than some of the top caps that I could obtain, and I also needed to have the reinforced piece at the top. Once all that's down, you can then take the top cap and screw that in. Now, this is almost a copy of a few designs that are out there. The only variation that I've done is the angles are different and the sizes are different, and obviously the reinforcement at the top. To show you how that works, here is the top cap with the smallest spacer on the top. We will undo this a bit, put it down, tighten, tighten, tighten. That's locked it like that, and then turn that and give it a bit more of a tighten. Oh yeah, that's tight. Okay, I've given this a bit of a clearance fit in there so we can move it what's that, radially? Yeah, move it around, wiggle it around, just to give us a bit of wiggle room. Once that's in, like it is now, once it's in the bike, we can screw this down to the top. So let's try that now. Now, because I'm shite at video editing, I managed to fuck the last take up, so I'll try again. So here is the Hambini headset, or top cap, which is here, and that goes into the top like so. Then we need to do it up finger tight. If it is too tight, it'll actually splay the outside out, so we can't get anything in. Then pop the top shim in, and then you can just about see probably about 2 mil of gap between the top of this shim and the top of my aluminium top cap. Now, with that in place, we can get the handlebars and then push them on like so. Okay, so that's gone on properly. We'll get an Allen key and then screw the top up. That will splay the outside of the carbon outwards. Okay, so now we've got that, and all we need to do now is we need to preload the bearings by putting the top cap down. So, oh god, this is being a bit of a fiddle. So we'll get the top cap, screw it in. Is that a 5 or a 4? Go with a 5. So as this is tightened, it will preload the headset bearings up. We are going to have to change those bearings because they are gritty, but this is a test. We don't want to spend money unnecessarily. Now, there'll be all those do-gooders on the internet saying, you need to tighten it to X Newton meters. Load of fucking shit. Just tighten it up until there's no play. There's a bit of resistance in there because of friction inside the reinforced head tube. So we've got that now. Okay, so that isn't actually going up or down. Okay, we've got that turning moment in there, and that's because I haven't done these 2 bolts up. So let me do them up anyway. They look like 4s. So that's that working. So the handlebars, that is pretty much fixed. So if, well, the stem is slammed on this bike, admittedly I could turn it upside down to make the handlebars even lower, but if I need to make it any higher, then I can replace the reinforced section in the fork tube with one of these 2 spacers, and that'll give me the ability to rise. Alternatively, if I need to make it even bigger, then I can just make one of these a bit thicker. There is a limitation because you want to have a minimal amount of grab inside the OEM fork tube. Right, we need some PowerPoint slides because I've become famous for PowerPoint slides. So let's, fucking hell. Right, we need some PowerPoint slides because, as you know, I've become famous for PowerPoint slides. So let's have some Death by PowerPoint by Hambini. And here we go. So this is my title slide, and as per usual, I've given it a non-clickbait Title. So, build a fast aero bike on the cheap by a cunt. This was voted for by my work colleagues who described my YouTube channel as vulgar and various other expletive words that are completely unjustified. By Hambini, aged 5. T-shirts of that nature are not quite in production, but I'm looking at it. Right, let's go with the current progress. First of all, I went and secured a bargain Look 486 because, first of all, it was really very cheap. I got to talk to Belinda with the big bazookas, and I saved some money from the betting shop. Tune into episode 1 if you want to know about that. We fixed the seat post. That was fairly trivial, actually. It was quite easy. Sorted the rear alignment out. Again, fairly trivial. Not a problem with that. And I bought some handlebars and stem. And then finally, you saw me fix the short fork steerer or get around that little problem. Now, while I, meander about on my rant, some people have asked, why do I swear a lot? Well, to be honest, I don't really swear that much at all. You want to meet some of my work colleagues who swear way more than I do. So I'm fairly mild. But my sarcasm, well, yes, it's my sarcasm. Right, the to-do list. The to-do list, we need to buy some wheels. Now, this is a bit of a contentious topic because the fucking wankers out there, oh God, my Tourette's is just terrible, who'll have you believe that you need to buy a set of zipped wheels because they are the dog's bollocks with their fucking dimples that you can use to scrub your feet with, or I don't know what else you could use them. Cheese grater, maybe. Yeah, you don't need any of them. Fucking wankers. Obviously, those are all my opinion. Any defamation claims and all that fucking shite, you know where my address is, all that bollocks. Yeah, we need to buy some wheels. So I need to, if you've got any suggestions, then whack them in the box below, and then we'll come to that. Buy a group set. Well, I've really narrowed this down to 2, haven't I? I can only buy Cambini or Shimano. I can't buy SRAM because it's just like fucking god-awful from the planet gonorrhea. I mean, SRAM engineers or SRAM manufacturing engineers must be full of fucking disease to put stuff like that out. They're just complete dickheads. Tune into my SRAM video if you want to know what that's about. I need to buy some sundries, some cables, seats, all that kind of stuff. So that is all still remaining. Current running total, so we bought the Look frame for 50 quid. That is about $60, maybe 60 something euros. So yeah, it was really quite cheap. The handlebars and the stem were 15 smackaroons, so I'm currently at 65 quid. And then there's some other bits that I need to get hold of. Now, I didn't really set a budget when I decided to build a bike on the cheap, but we'll see how we get on. Right. Now, some people usually like some of the technical details around the parts I've made, so I've done some CAD drawings to show you that. So let me show you these things. Okay. Bollocks. Not that. Fuck. Ah, fucking wank. Right. Right, this is the spacer, the standard spacer that goes into the top of the fork tube. So this one, I can't remember how thick I made it, but it's quite thin. There's another one which I made, which is this one, which is the thicker one, and it also comes in 2 variants. So one that's another 10mm thick. So they allow me to adjust the stack height and also reinforce the section. The thing that, I already mentioned this, but the problematic thing was the diameter for when this goes into the fork tube. It was much, much narrower than any of the other ones I've seen. So that's where that is. This, yeah, it's all machined, and the top cap fits into that recess because I'm a stickler for concentricity. So if we look at the top cap has this piece, which is, well, I haven't seen many top caps with that piece, so it slots into the corresponding female component, which is into there, so everything is perfectly aligned. So that's, yeah, and that's the cap, sorry. This is the alignment gauge, so the plastic part of the alignment gauge, and into here, so I just basically drilled
well, it's not a drill, it's a 12mm hole, but it's got an interference fit on it. So into either side of them, you put these. So these pins, so that's another 12mm. You can just about see it's a 12.03 to give you your interference. Slide into that hole, which is there. Oh, cack. Slide into that hole, and they give you the spacer dimensions so that you can set the rear dropouts correctly. What's this shim? Ah, yeah, this is the shim to go around the fork steerer. So it's taken me from 1 inch to 1 inch and 1/8. So if we get the dimensions, so you can just about see what I've got. So I've got 25.4 to 23.8 on the inside, and 28.57, 28.53 on the outside. Really, that's just me being a bit finicky, because as soon as you put the slit into the shim, then those tolerances don't really matter. But they were the dimensions before I put the slit in. Yeah, and one thing that's coming up is the bottom bracket. Now, I was just going to use the Shimano bottom bracket, but you know, it's not going to look good if I just leave a Shimano bottom bracket in it. But this is the Shimano bottom bracket. It's quite a complicated setup, really. I mean, if you took the one side, you've got the bearing here, and then a sleeve within a sleeve, and another sort of black plastic thing. So that sealing arrangement is really quite good, but it's extremely complicated. You know, if you were to machine that as a one-off, I mean, the way they make these is they injection mold them so that they can, you know, churn them out hundreds per second. So as a piece of injection molding, it's very, very good. But if you're going to machine that as a one-off, it's a bit of a faff, and it doesn't lend itself well to having low drag. And that's one of the keys that we're trying to aim for with the bike. So I've already made a T40. Well, I was just going to say I've already made a T47. The T47, one of the bike teams that I supply has asked me for a T47 bottom bracket. Now, it's not... You could probably work out what bikes they're riding on. They're going to be riding on Trek, because Trek's moving over to that standard. So they are going for a T47 standard. So I've been working on a T47 BB. So this is what I've come up with. Now, in my opinion, T47 is a standard that's, I don't even know why it's there, because it's unnecessary. But this is a much simpler setup compared to the Shimano setup. So you've got a lot of integrated pieces in there. However, I am looking at making a BSA bottom bracket for Shimano, and my cup is considerably simpler in design, maybe because I have to make it out of metal. But so that's one side. I've still got a few other bits to make, but that's what's in the pipeline. Now, that is the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please join me in the next episode, where we'll probably have to start putting some of the group sets and making some choices with regards wheels. So please hit that subscribe button, tell your mates, and if you've got a comment, please use the box below. I do read all of your comments. I may not be able to respond to them all, but I do try. Thanks very much, and until next time, and have a nice day.